Raw Mike Richards, weekdays on Newstalk Sauga960. And now, from the Bell Lifestyle Studio, here's Mike.
It is 8:11 Newstalk Sauga960. Raw Mike Richards on one of the great made-up days of the year, one of the great corporate scams of all time, Valentine's Day. Yes. I mean, do you buy the flowers? Do you get the chocolates? Do you do the nice things? I got to be honest, I do. I usually am one of those guys that will. I've done it already, and I do it every year, just because I'm really behind on points. You see football teams. They're like, "What are they going to do now?" I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to start. I'm just going to start punting on first down. I'm so far behind, and quite honestly. And as you know, the reason it's called Raw Mike Richards is because I pretty much tell you everything that's going on. There was a time in my life where there were lawyers and separation papers. There was a time where I had to make a decision, and I was clueless. Because for the most part of a certain generation, if you come from a family where there was no divorce in my family, there wasn't even separation. I maybe knew one person in my town whose parents did that. It's not like what we have gone through with our generation, where it seems like if you can get 6 years out of it, it's like kind of like buying a Volvo. Well, I got 6 years out of it. It is hard, and it can be very frightening. I can think of a good friend of mine that when I was separated, living alone in Toronto, and there's two separated guys, like the Odd Couple, except both guys were bad. And he started telling me what was going on with the divorce. He was crushed because he had fishing equipment. I said, so, well, I have to put a price on it. Everything that I've owned, I now have to come up with a dollar figure so it can be split. It put me in the fetal position. Like it was so difficult. So here this morning, as much as it is the day of love, maybe it should be a day of planning, depending on where you're at. The book is called Untying the Knot. And we have Kelly LaVallie joining us here this morning from, I didn't realize, Kelly, Vancouver, Pacific time?
Yeah, it's a bit early.
It is early. No wonder you're writing books about divorce. You're getting up mad. I mean, and an accountant too. That's a lot of numbers and frustration. And but I really appreciate you getting up because all kidding aside, it is something that I think most human beings are ill prepared for. They certainly financially, they have to trust sometimes, like what lawyer are you getting? Sometimes people aren't even used to doing that. Certainly not in this area of life. So I would think as you're writing this book, now I guess we have to ask, is it based on experience, something you've been through, the mistakes that were made that you don't want to see others do?
In part, for sure. My parents divorced, so I got to, have a front row seat to their experience. And then I'm divorced, and now I work full time with people going through divorce. So it's picking the best and warning you about the worst.
Oh, it's great. And of course, as Chris Houston joined us, Chris from the Idea Shop, who always brings us such interesting guests. This is certainly one of them, Chris. Now, is it because of the nature of the subject matter of this book that you thought, for me specifically, this is a good guest to have?
Well, Mike, like Kelly, my parents were divorced. When you're a kid, you've got a front row seat for this thing. You love your parents. You love them together. You love them separately. And it was clear to me, even at a young age, this is not something you go through alone. You hope you buddy up with your friend Mike and hang out in a basement apartment and talk about pricing fishing equipment. But not everybody has a friend like Mike. We all need a friend like Kelly. She's a chartered professional accountant, and she is a certified divorced financial analyst, and she cares. It's this amazing combination of accounting smarts and emotional empathy and understanding of what people are going through that made, when I read Untying the Knot, I thought, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here that would help people, even if they're just thinking about divorce, even if it's crossed your mind, is this relationship worth continuing, or should I head to the exit? And so I'd love to ask Kelly, what should people consider if they're even thinking about this? What's something that folks just don't think about ahead of time?
Right. I mean, even though my whole life is divorce, I would say first to know that it's not that divorce is wrong, but it's really hard. So if there's anything that you can do to avoid it, I would explore that. I think if we could bottle up how hard it was, more people might work hard. And I think too, if you're, you know, at that crossroads, and you really know that you've done everything that you could to avoid it, that's going to give you comfort as you move through the process, because divorce sucks. But if you know that it was your only option, then you can move forward, you can look ahead. I would say, I don't mean to be negative, but I'm an accountant specializing in divorce, so it's what I am. But to just be prepared, I think that now a lot of people hope they can do this amicably, like that their divorce is going to be different. Maybe they watch their parents go through it and they're going to do it a different way. And I think it's as likely to have a completely amicable divorce as it is to have a completely amicable marriage. And so to just be prepared that you're human, you're going through a super tough time, and make sure that you have support around you to weather those bumps.
Now, so let me give you this scenario. So a lot of times when we think about divorce, it's people have been together for a certain amount of years. They can feel it coming. Sometimes some can be 10, 15, 20, it can be a lot of years. And it's just like, you know, we're just not happy, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of one scenario. What about the relatively new marriage, a year or two, and then it gets complicated? For instance, let's say if the man in this case is financially very successful, and he's thinking, I think I've made a really bad mistake here, and I make a lot of money. Now, if there's a prenup, I guess that's one thing, because we've heard the name, we kind of know the word, but legally we probably don't fully understand what that means. I mean, we watch Seinfeld, and we see when George Costanza wants to have a prenup, she goes, you don't have any money. Yeah, I'll sign the damn thing, right? That's what our understanding of prenuptial agreement is. But what do you do if you're this young guy who, you know, it's been a relatively short period of time, and he's like, I got to protect myself because I think I have made a mistake and I don't think it's going to get any better. Then what do you do? Like, what do you do? Because there's money involved. And I mean, maybe a lot of money involved.
Right. I think when we're getting married, we're not necessarily thinking about this, but you're entering into a legal arrangement. It's just that most people don't read it, right? They're scrolling for the I accept button. I think of the prenup or the marriage contract, like, at least you know what you're getting into. But let's say, you know, Mike, you didn't enter into one. To me, the first step is you have to accept where you are and find out how the law applies to your situation. Because divorce, I mean, it's an emotional, terrible thing, but it's also a legal process. And I think knowing your rights and responsibilities, accepting the situation you're in and making the best of it, and having a strategy, because there are ways to handle it. I don't know, to me, you want to be informed going into it. So meet with a lawyer, find out the agreement that you inadvertently entered into.
So, you know, Kelly, you mentioned lawyer. Now, as soon as I hear the word lawyer in any context, even if it's Seinfeld, my blood starts to pound, and I just start to reach for my wallet and make sure that everything is okay. In the context of divorce, does hiring a lawyer mean that it's going to get like wildly adversarial, or is there going to be food fights? Like, what does that mean? What does that step really mean in a divorce?
I think that's a common misconception, right? Helped along by, I don't know, the movies maybe. But to me, hiring a lawyer just means that you're informed. You know your rights and responsibilities. You're still in charge as the client. Your lawyer can't even actually act without your instructions. So I actually think that hiring a lawyer can make it way more efficient, because both people know what the deal is, and so they can move ahead and make decisions more effectively. So I think it actually can help make your divorce more amicable. I mean, you probably want to choose your lawyer wisely.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of us would have, you know, walking through those doors, a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever done that, aside from maybe buying a house or you know, but that's just generally clerical stuff. Or I'm handing you a big pile of paper, they have the little sticky things, you initial it. It's not sitting down with the guy, because as you said, it's a scary thing. Just like, you know, sort of going back to what a prenuptial agreement actually is. I mean, is it insulting? in this day and age, if you and I have been engaged for a year and I propose, like, when do you when do you slide that in? Because I would think that's could be a little tricky.
I mean, to me, it's a great idea to customize your deal, customize your arrangement. And I think the idea that a prenup or a marriage contract is to protect the person, typically the man who has a bunch of money, and this poor young impoverished girl is disadvantaged. I don't think that that's accurate. I mean, really, it's just saying, look, the law, the family law in your area is this really broad brush that is intended to apply to like every situation. So surely you could craft something that fits better for the two of you. This would be my pitch. Isn't that romantic?
Yeah, I have a feeling no matter what the pitch is, it's still gonna be, you want me to sign a prenuptial agreement?
Okay, maybe Valentine's Day isn't the day to do it.
But I'll tell you, as a kid, I did break off with a girl on the phone on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
see?
dear.
Yeah, see, that's what you're dealing with now, Kelly. Now the truth comes out. Oh yeah, oh he's hilarious. All right. I think this is super important, just because it always crushes me a little bit. Like, I am a little bit of a romantic, which is why I am still married after all these years that you make it apart. I was separated for 6.5 years. Well, actually, yeah, but about 6 years. And I just was not wired to be someone where something like that would fail. Now, sometimes it does, even though both people try. And I just find it always heartbreaking when, it's not that uncommon this day and age where people go 2-3 years and it's over, and it's done. Some people, and then they're with someone again within like a really short period of time. But it always sort of crushes me a little bit when it just kind of doesn't work out. So in getting this book, like, what would you hope to achieve for someone who's nervous? They feel like they might be in that category. What does this book do for them, Kelly?
I mean, I hope it gives them comfort. Like, part of it is, it's a very lonely experience, even though so many people have gone through it. When it's you going through it, it feels lonely. So I hope that you would have the comfort of knowing you're not alone. I want to build people's confidence. Like, you can handle this. Most people haven't done it more than once or twice, but you can do it. And you just have to break it down into its simple steps and take one step at a time. So I try and just make the process, it really is quite simple. It's not easy. And so I'm trying to make it a little easier for people.
Well, it's nice to have that blueprint, because as I said, walking through those doors when you think you're going to do what you never, ever, ever thought you were going to do in the first place is terrifying. And the other thing, of course, is Chris brought up, it's the monetary thing. It's the financial, like, how long is this going to go? Because look, all lawyers are not the same. And depending on who, I mean, you really have to do some research, and hopefully word of mouth, and say, do you have like a good person, like someone who actually just doesn't want to take and bill the hours and get what they're going to get. And that takes time. That's just not going to fall into your lap, I doubt. So Untying the Knot is the name of the book. Kelly LaVallie joined us here this morning from Vancouver. I'm not a Canuck fan either, just so you know. I don't like them. I never have liked them. Yeah, I think you were terrific here this morning. We should do this again too, because this comes up more than just, nice to have you on and talk about this. This goes on all the time. I mean, literally. So it'd be nice if we could do this again sometime, because I know there's going to be some specific questions and people are going to say, I just read that book. What about this? If you're around and don't mind getting up at whatever time you had to get up at, I'd love to do this again.
Absolutely. I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelly. Chris, outstanding as always. Thanks so much. Always brilliant.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Kelly.
Chris and Kelly, really great stuff here this morning in a very sensitive and difficult scenario. Like, when you think that's going to happen and you're like, are we really doing this? It's a terrible place to be, and very lonely, as Kelly said. She did a great job.